Hello, good people. This is the first of a couple of videos just laying out some ideas that you probably studied in your previous classes, specifically Algebra 1 and Algebra 2. But they're ideas that are going to carry through the units that we're going to do after we come back from spring break. And so for each little video, I'll be talking about a different aspect or attribute of a function. And we're going to start by looking at things very, very basic by looking at graphs rather than equations, rather than tables. We're going to be looking at graphs so that you can visually identify things. And if you can visually identify them, then later when we get into the specific units after spring break, you'll be able to identify those things without a graph, but with the function equation that's given to you. So this video is about increasing and decreasing. And I think just kind of with what you know about the words increasing, decreasing, I think you can tell what this means, right? So you've heard these words before. A function is increasing when something happens. Now, if I draw an increasing function, like this would be an increasing function, right? And the reason it's increasing is some people would say because it's going up, but we got to remember it's going up because we read graphs from left to right, correct? So always read from left to right. If you put your finger on the graph and you trace it, your finger is moving in an upward direction. However, mathematically, we are very precise in what increasing means. And we say that a graph is increasing on a window or on an interval. Let's say I tell you that the graph is increasing from -3 to, I'm going to say, +4. From x -3 to x +4. I know that it's increasing because it's increasing if for any 2x values on that window, you can pick any x values between -3 and +4. If the first one is smaller than the second one, then the y value, or we call it the function value of the first one, is also smaller than the second one. Now, what does that mean? That means you can pick any 2x values. It doesn't matter where you are in this window. If I'm sure that the window, the interval, has an increasing attribute to the graph, that means I can pick any x value, like this x value, and I find the point here, and then another x value over here, and I find the point on the graph. And so x1, this point or this x value is smaller than x2, right? On the number line, the one on the left is smaller than the one on the right. But it's increasing if the y value at the first point is also smaller than the one at the second point, because that means that the graph is going up. Conversely, I know that a graph is decreasing if for any 2x values in the window or the interval where I think it's decreasing, if I pick any 2x values, then what's happening with the y values? Well, let's look at a picture. If I draw a decreasing graph, this would be a decreasing graph, right? If I pick any 2x values, let's say I pick x1 here, and I pick x2 here, it doesn't matter where I pick them. If I know that interval is decreasing, if I can pick any 2x values and the y value or the function value at x1 is bigger than the y value or the function value at x2. In other words, the first point is higher, the one on the left is higher than the one on the right, and that means it's decreasing. Versus increasing, for any 2 points that you pick, the one on the left is lower than the one on the right. That means it's increasing, right? And so that's the math definition of that. But when we look at things here, I'm going to do part A and part B for this video. I'm looking at this graph. Can you tell where the graph is increasing? Can you tell where the graph is decreasing? So I'm going to highlight where I think the graph is increasing. I'm going to do that in blue. The graph is increasing, I think, from this lowest point all the way forever this way. So I'm going to call this the increasing part. And I think that the graph is decreasing from all the way over here to the left, all the way to the lowest point here. That's where it's decreasing. Now, the question is the graph increasing or decreasing from x equals -2 till x equals 0? Okay, so x equals -2, that would be right here, until x equals 0, that would be right here. In that window, is the graph decreasing? Are the y values getting smaller on the graph? If I put my finger on the graph and trace it, is my finger going down in between -2 all the way to 0? And the answer is yes. The graph is decreasing on that window on x values that are part of, -2 comma 0. -2 comma 0. Okay, so a couple of things. This symbol is the element symbol. It means is a part of or is a member of. It kind of looks, kind of looks like a C with a little line. It almost looks like an E, but it's curved. And that says my x value, all x values that are a part of. And then this is my interval notation that says I am starting at -2 and I am ending at 0. So it gives me the window. So x's that are between -2 and 0, that's kind of a shorthand way of writing that. But we know that the graph is decreasing in that area. All right, what about B? Is the graph increasing or decreasing for x's that are between 2 and 3? Okay, so between 2 and 3, let me use a different color. Between 2, so here's 2, and 3, here's 3. Is the graph increasing or decreasing there? Well, I can see that it's increasing. So I'm going to say the graph is increasing on the interval. Now notice the way they wrote it, so I'm going to copy the way they wrote it. That's also another way to write it would be 2 to 3, or x's that are a part of 2 to 3. Meaning these are x values that are a member of this group, the group that starts at x equals 2 and ends at x equals 3. But increasing, decreasing is all about which direction is the graph going? Which way is it going? Is it going up? Is it going down? But we always read from left to right. So for this graph that we were looking at, I start from the left. It's going down. It's decreasing. Oh, at the very bottom, it changes directions, and now it's increasing. It's going up. In a nutshell, that's increasing, decreasing.